New videos every day.
Hi, I'm Anna Miller, founder and CEO of the Depression Project, and I'm
Karen Beth Glunz.
I'm actually not. She's actually Karen Beth Glunz, but she does a great job introducing herself. So, Karen Beth, what is on the topic of Mad Wisdom today?
Well, for me is, okay, you can really tell me because we're friends, okay?
Okay.
And I won't judge you, I promise.
Okay.
Are you really cured?
Well, you know, it was all about writing a book for me and seeing if I could talk people into it.
Cool. That's great.
It's actually an interesting question because in order for one to be cured, you would have actually had to believe that you had some sort of illness to begin with, as opposed to having an experience. So I guess I could answer that both ways.
Okay.
I could say, no, I'm not cured because there was nothing to cure. There was a human experience that I went through called depression and bipolar in our society that gave me some. I traveled a road that some people travel and some people don't. At the same time, I'd say to be more, specific in terms of the context of the conversation, what we're trying to create here is, yes, absolutely, I'm cured. And cured meaning that I no longer embody or identify the experience of being bipolar, depressed, or experience any anxiety at all.
Cool. And I have another question, because this is something that I've believed for so many years with my friend who has been labeled bipolar and acts that out and is in the system and is medicated. And what she has told me is that she is chemically imbalanced and that she has the most severe case of bipolarism. She's in the 1 or 2% in terms of degree, and that chemical imbalance is part of her issue. How do you respond to that?
So the notion of a chemical imbalance in the brain is one that has been basically sold to the public as a scientific fact. And in fact, there is no science with which to base that assumption upon. I'm not a scientist, so asking me directly, look for yourself and go do your research. But when you begin to look inside of, so where does this chemical imbalance in the brain happen and what's going on, it's not true. It's not really there.
So then what's medicated? I mean, how does this medication, if it's not a chemical imbalance, how is the medication supposed to help the balance?
Well, they found that much in the same way if you smoke a joint or take some LSD or cocaine, you can alter your state. You can do that with pharmaceutical drugs as well.
Wow.
Well,
and I have an addictive personality. I mean, that is something that I do understand.
Yeah.
And so if I'm going to give up alcohol and give up cigarettes and give up coffee and give up Coca-Cola, maybe I could do prescription drugs. And actually did for a period of time, because in giving up all of those things at one time, my body reacted.
Well, it would be more socially acceptable for you to take the prescription drugs than to smoke the cigarettes and drink the alcohol.
Absolutely.
I mean, so you're buying into a set of beliefs about what's okay, what's right, and what's wrong, and that's a whole problem about this conversation in general. Through my own experience, and I ran the gamut with medications. They had me on several cocktail combinations, and mostly they didn't work. Mostly what would happen is, so from an extreme reaction was one where my tongue swelled up and I was drooling out the side of my mouth. So I literally became, inside of the mental hospital, the person that you imagine seeing when you go there. The person that can't talk and can't think, and my hands were shaking and I was drooling out of the side of my mouth. That was all through medication.
My gosh.
I was given another... Obviously, they decided that wasn't a good drug for me, so they chose a different combination. These drugs are usually given in combination, more than one. In fact, if you watch commercials today, that's the big deal. If your antidepressant isn't working, why not add this one on top of it to kind of boost it or do something? I don't know what the science is behind what they're trying to sell behind those things. What I do know is that it's a guessing game, getting the cocktail right for an individual, and sometimes they're successful. I will tell you that in my third major depression, on my road out, I was finally given a cocktail that worked immediately. It worked within a few days, and I was able to become functional again in my life. And finding that, I certainly didn't want to let go.
Exactly.
So I understand what goes on for people in the decision-making process about what to do, and what's happening. But I want to be really clear that we don't know what's going on with these drugs.
So I'm curious, the drug that you had on that third episode that really helped you become more functional.
Yes.
And did it make you feel normal, if there is such a thing, or did it give you an experience so that you could get off of it and then actually be normal? Do you know what I'm saying?
Did it make me feel normal? Normal compared to how I was, I suppose.
Exactly, yes.
I don't know if I would ever have opted for normal, because what it did was minimize my range of emotional experience. And we are made up of chemistry. And so how the drugs affect you and affect me and affect the next person would all be completely different. So who knows why that particular cocktail worked at that particular time for me.
And the other thing that I noticed is with my friend, as long as she's not manic, as long as we have her controlled, whether she's depressed or not is of no issue.
That's absolutely correct.
And trying to get a mood swing for her to bring her back into a functional place is most difficult.
Yeah, that I found that there was more interest in controlling outbursts of mania. And mostly any of the medication I was given would certainly curb that and drop me into a depression. Getting actually balanced out at all was not possible. So put into the hospital in a state of mania, given lots of different meds, and 30 days later, 28 days later, kicked out on the other side, unable to operate because I had dropped so far into a depression again. So in terms of the whole system and experience of the system, it's very interesting in terms of what its actual goals and priorities are, and how they certainly didn't match my own.
And the other thing that I'm wondering is that with medication, your body adjusts so that now something more has to be added.
I understand that that's true, yes.
Such a magnificent adjuster. And so I wonder about that too. You have to keep on more and more and more.
I believe that that's true. I've known people that have been addicted to pain medications, and that's been true for them. Again, I wouldn't like to set myself up as an expert talking on this topic, other than to tell you very clearly in no uncertain terms that this notion that it's a chemical, and that's why I'm sick, is absolutely ludicrous and unsupported by any science.
Well, wow. I have to admit, I'm kind of stunned.
Well, it's amazing how we agree to things in the collective. And so really one of the main tenets, if you will, of Mad Wisdom is to say, check for yourself, look for yourself, and begin to examine what the beliefs are that you have about this experience. And I say that with such intensity, and here's why. And I wrote this down in my book. At the very center of my own healing journey, my own pathway to recovery, to being cured, was the notion that I could actually think myself well. Sounds a little trite and ridiculous, but I'm going to tell you that that's exactly what I did. I stopped buying in to the beliefs that were offered by the system. I started replacing those with things that were more supportive, and literally I made a choice that I was going to be well, and no longer identified with being bipolar and being depressed.
But that wasn't instantaneous.
It wasn't instantaneous.
It wasn't. That's the other thing too. Oh my gosh! It's like I've heard about spiritual awakening. It wasn't instantaneous. It was like immediate kind of experience, and that's not the case. It can be a journey.
Yes.
Day after day after day, with some days being better than others, or whatever. So
yeah, I'm really glad you said that, because when I say the words out loud, it seems oh so simple, and they were the beginning of something. To really say, I make a choice that I'm no longer identified with this. I choose to be a person that's well in the world and having an experience that is not through the lens of having a mental illness. That began a journey of correcting the mind.
And I bet you that there would be people who've had cancer, who have been cured themselves of cancer, if we want to call it that,
Yeah.
and any other dis-ease that we would consider biological dis-ease rather than mental, I bet you they would say the same thing, that they made a determination to be healthy.
I am sure that that's true, Karen Beth.
Okay.
Thank you for listening.
If you liked this video, we have hundreds of more alternative videos ranging from sexual health to psychology to mind control. So if you liked it, go ahead and click on me to enter the Psychetruth channel.